Welcome to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. The Alumni Podcast, where you get to hear the inspiring stories and transformation that DVC has had to offer its alumni. And now, on with the episode.
All right, and we are live here at Alumni at the DVC Alumni Podcast, and I have with me today Monica Hicks, who I'm super excited about having because she has quite the tale to tell. I remember meeting you or hearing your story from afar at Kennedy King, and just was really struck by how powerful it was, and not only that, but like what your life journey has been like. I'm a big believer that life is not linear, and I think your story really tells that. So, you want to get us started with how you kind of started out and got to DVC?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much. My even my like so my DVC path was super not linear. I was in high school. I went to high school in Danville, San Ramon Valley High School. I started having some like behavioral problems like really young. And I ended up doing venture independent study school in San Ramon. So I wrapped up high school that way while I was going to cosmetology school. And then I went to DVC briefly in, man, I don't even know what year it was, maybe end of like 2011. And I just super wasn't ready to be a student yet. I gave up on all my classes 2 semesters in a row. Like I signed up for classes, like life got out of control and I ended up like failing or withdrawing from everything for 2 semesters in a row. Took like a longer break where I really struggled with like substance abuse, houselessness, whatever you want to call it. Ended up going to prison in 2017, got out in 2018. Went to my brother's graduation from UC Berkeley and decided that like I wanted to go back to school, and like DVC was really there for me to just like pick right back up. And then this time, like my experience was just so different. I had so much support, like the best teachers, like the best students, the best resources, the best cafeteria food. And yeah, things just really took off. I was encouraged to chase dreams that like I didn't know well enough to have. So it was a great experience for me. I really loved it.
So while you were here at DVC, and I mean that's a big transition from doing a little time to
Yeah.
gosh now, and it sounds like that real epiphany or that existential moment for you was that you went from being basically having all the issues that we have sometimes, and then on to seeing your brother graduated at Berkeley, and you went, I want that. And
Yeah.
I just so you got here to DVC, and did you fall in with like the counselors, or did you chase EOPS, or what were some of the programs? Because I don't think you wrote a check to get yourself through. How did you get yourself through this?
Yeah, I think that I was in EOPS, which was like great. I got like a lot of support from them. I I think that I got like that like FT cubed or whatever it is, like first time, full time. Like I qualified for that, like even though I had like been there before. So I had just like a lot of support, like from DVC, like a lot of financial support, which I really needed and really appreciated. But I fell in with like EOPS. My very first quarter back, I had this amazing English teacher, Adam Vesey. And I remember he said like in the beginning, he's like, if you're working and you're taking like a full course load, like you need to talk to me right now to make sure you can like be successful in this class. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm working and taking a full course load. Like I'm going to talk to him right now. But I just like talked to him, like told him a little bit about like my background and like my goals and like what I wanted. And he just went above and beyond to like support me. And he recommended me. I ended up doing like really well in his class. He recommended me to be an English teacher. Or an English tutor. So I started working in the writing lab as an English tutor. But then like I started having like that income from like my job cutting hair and like tutoring on campus, and like yeah, I just had so much support, and like that's something I never would have known to want for myself. And like even once I decided that I wanted to major in STEM, I still think it set me so far apart to have these strong writing skills, because when I went to write my essays to get into these schools, or like when I went to write like scholarship essays, like I was able to articulate like where I had been, like what my goals were so effectively. So yeah, just help I didn't know to ask for every step of the way at DVC.
Great. So moving from English to STEM was a good transition. Well, and the truth of the matter is most people don't realize they get to DVC and it's like what do I want to do? Well, most people that get here don't know, and so this is a place to find out. But it sounds like that transition from English major to STEM was a great one because it did put you in a position to succeed. So
Yeah. I don't know that I wanted to be an English major. I just knew that like I would need to take English like to transfer. So my first quarter, I don't remember everything I took, but I know I took algebra. I had my teacher, Julie Walters, for algebra was phenomenal. So great. She was also like a huge inspiration in my DVC journey. But I took algebra and I took English, and then I took a poli-sci class or something like that because my brother was trying to help me get on track to like transfer, and he was like, start with these because like these are blockers. Like you can't take the classes past these like until you get these out of the way. So yeah. I ended up taking 10 math classes at DVC, which is really crazy.
Okay. I think I took one or two, but that's
Yeah.
and a couple of English. But well, then again, I was chasing computer science back in the early '90s, so it was back when we were doing things with rocks and stones and sticks and stuff. But um, so you got into STEM and then you were looking to transfer from DVC after all this great support. And one of the things I hear constantly is about the difference in support here versus a major university is
Mhm.
quite a bit different. I mean, it's definitely it's a different playing field for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that I definitely I definitely agree that the support at DVC is great. I don't know. The support at Stanford is great also, but like I feel like a lot of the support I've had at Stanford has been kind of similar to the support that I got at DVC, and that like I have like a couple of mentors that have really just like helped me. I think at DVC it was more the help that I got. The teachers really knew like what resources were available on campus and like how to like connect students with them and stuff like that. Um yeah, but I thought it was really good. I don't know what it's like at, like, state schools and stuff, like, I don't know what my, like, brother's experience was like at, like, Berkeley with resources, but I definitely felt that, like, whenever I needed help or support on campus, like, I was able to find it really easily at DVC.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what made you pick Stanford other than it's a super awesome school and it's the rival for Cal, go Bears.
Yeah.
My daughter went to Cal, so it's just,
Yeah.
yeah. So what made you pick Stanford other than, I mean, they do have an amazing science program or computer science program.
Yeah. It was definitely my math teacher, Mr. Mohan. He was because I wasn't gonna go to Stanford. My dream had been Berkeley. And when I got into Berkeley, I paid the money right away to like save my spot and to go to Berkeley because it was what I had been working towards. Then I found out I got into MIT and I was thinking, okay, well, now is it gonna be Berkeley or MIT? So then when I got into Stanford, I hadn't even really been considering Stanford. My mom really wanted me to go, but for whatever reason, like Stanford, like didn't seem I don't know why. I had heard of Stanford, like, but I don't think I knew like how good of a school it was. And all my friends were going to Berkeley, but in my mind, like MIT was like best in the world for computer science. So I really liked the idea of MIT just kind of like for like my story, like, oh, I was at like arguably like one of the worst places in the world for someone to be. And then like I'm gonna be at like the best, like. And I went on a walk with my because I knew my math teacher and his brother, they used to come into my work. My coworker used to cut their hair. And so I went on a walk with them to like talk about like my different options. And I was talking about like MIT and Berkeley, and they're like, what about Stanford? And I was like, I'm really not even considering Stanford. And they both like stopped and turned around and looked at me, and they were like, no, you have to go to Stanford. And so I ended up saying like, oh, I'll just like leave it up to like financial aid, like wherever I can go for like the least amount of money, like that's where I'm going to pick. And then like, I was really surprised to learn that it would be Stanford. And so then like after I heard that, I went and I like came and walked around the campus, and I just like fell in love with it. And it's so funny because when I came on campus, I didn't know where I was going, and I parked in a random parking lot. And now like that parking lot is right outside of my apartment where I live. So it's so crazy. But yeah, very happy with Stanford.
Well, in Stanford, I mean, truth be told, Stanford is the heart of Silicon Valley. I mean, that is really kind of, I guess in some ways you could say that's almost where it all started. I mean, it's like in the same neighborhood. So.
Yeah. And I think that Stanford's a better fit for my personality than MIT would have been. And like, I feel like it went like in terms of like transfer, like cohort and like diverse students, like Berkeley definitely would have had like more transfers my age and like more diversity. Stanford has a little bit more. I feel like MIT has like none of the diversity that like I would have wanted. Like I would have been like older than everyone. Like even like grad students at MIT, I feel like would have been like way younger than me. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So you arrive at Stanford, and you finally made up your mind, and you arrived there, and your mom's happy at least, but I'm sure your dad was really, really proud too. And your brother, even though he's a Cal grad, I'm sure was completely awesome.
Yeah.
So what was that like getting in there and pursuing, and what has your career been like as you've moved forward?
I think that it was good. So I knew that I wanted to do computer science, and there were some other transfers that were also interested in computer science. And so it was fun because like we all started off like taking like the same class together, like not the first introductory class, but the second intro class, CS 106B. And my introduction was just really good. Like at Stanford, they have this class called Transfer 101, and you can take it your first quarter for 2 units. And so full time is like 12 units. 106B was 5 units. So like, and then I had Transfer 101, which was 2 units. So I think I only took like 5 or 6 more units. So like pretty chill first quarter. And it was really great because I just had time to like explore what the campus had to offer, like hang out with friends, go like meet people, go out to eat and stuff like that. So it was really nice. I think Stanford does a really good job of like onboarding transfers.
Oh, cool. So you get there, you start studying, and let's see. So you're a CS. Well, now you are, but let's go back a little bit, if you don't mind. So you get there and you start. Let's see. You volunteered at the food bank. That was back in June of 19, and then you were an above and beyond computer science fellow at Meta. What was that like?
So that was cool. It was just like, it's just like a training program. So what they do is like, you would like go to these little like webinar type things, and you would like work in small groups, and like they help you learn how to kind of interview basically. It's like for people from like marginalized backgrounds, like, and you get to like meet other people and like so for CS internships, like they're very rigorous and hard. Like you apply, you usually take like an online assessment that you do by yourself. It's like usually like anywhere from 1 to 3 hours where you're like solving coding problems. Then if you pass that, then you get to like talk to a recruiter. Then you usually do 2 to 3 rounds of technical interviews. And then like you either like do or don't get an offer. And so like they help us like navigate that process. And it was cool because like I got to meet other like super smart people from other colleges. Like one of the girls I met in that program was from MIT, and we would like just Zoom together, and we would like pretend to interview each other. We'd be like, okay, this is the problem. Like walk me through your thought process. So that was a cool opportunity. And I really did feel that like it made me better equipped for recruiting.
Wow. So, I mean, and that sounds like it was a wonderful learning experience. And not only that, I mean, it sounds like something I would need to do, but it's just because, well, I mean, you're talking about, it's like there's the test is 1 to 3 hours, and then there's a slew of interviews of one sort or another, all very technical. At the same time, you've got to dazzle them, and you know, you can't and I imagine it helps you get over the yips, those hesitations and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So then you moved on to CS plus social good. What is that? Because that looks very
Yeah.
interesting.
So that's like a student-led organization on campus. And they have like different sub teams. So I ended up being the education outreach sub lead or team lead. And we would like make curriculum for high school students.
Oh,
I because okay, so I took a lot of CS classes at DVC and they were really great and I learned a lot, but I didn't really learn about ethics in CS until I came to Stanford. And at Stanford, I was blown away when like they were saying, "Oh, the design implementations you make for a program can have real life impact." Like imagine you write a program for like food stamps or something like that, but like you don't think to make it able to handle like hyphens. Well, someone who has a hyphenated last name like would never be able to like finish their application or apply, or like maybe you can't handle special characters. So someone who has like a tilde above like one of the characters in their name, like maybe their ID doesn't match or they can't like submit their application and they can't ever get like housing or food stamps, or like even the way that you sort something. Like imagine you just always sort lists in alphabetical. Well, like the people with A names are always going to get access to resources before the people with Z names and stuff. Like I had never thought about that. And so CS plus social good, when we do education outreach and like some of the other programs that there are, we try to just bring these to people's attention. Like, and we try to show them like, oh, look, like you learned cosine similarity. Like, how do you apply it to like disease statistics to diagnose people or like make a prediction about like what ailments they might have, stuff like that. So just like computer science, but through a lens of like, how can we have a positive social impact? Because I think when we do nothing, it defaults to negative. Like, it doesn't tend to default to,
yeah.
like, accidentally positive, like, it tends to have negative
Well,
repercussions.
I mean, it's almost like, well, not almost, but it is. It's you were now being taught or shown that you need to make your coding and your implementations reflect of the real world as
Yeah.
opposed to the kind of the black and white. I mean, and that's one of the things is nothing is ever black and white, and it's really easy. I mean, I learned coding back, like I said, late 80s, early 90s, so again, a couple centuries ago, um, uh, but again, it's like it's really easy to get into that yes and no binary type thought process because that's easy. Whereas looking at the all inclusiveness is it can be a tough problem to overcome, and it's just one of those things you have to constantly remind yourself of. Do you
Mhm.
find that your work now, and we'll talk some more about some of the stuff you're doing because again, I mean, but the stuff you now does that like I don't want to say creep in, but does that help? Do you reflect on that as you work on your projects as you work forward?
Yeah, I definitely do. So this last summer, I was interning at Reddit, and at my internship, we were doing a lot of data processing, and it definitely comes into play there because it's like some of the things I was having to do was like filter for like bad words and stuff like that. And that's like also like a really delicate process because it's like, oh, you don't want to say it. Like it's just a lot of thought has to go into it, you know. Yeah, definitely a lot of thought has to go into it.
Yeah. Well, and it is it's I think again it gets back to the while you're dealing with a binary system, it's like we can't use binary thinking to execute it. I mean, and that's kind of a tough bridge. So,
Yeah.
you got to be an astrophysics research assistant. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, talk
Yeah.
about that because that's like super awesome.
Yeah, so that was super cool. I worked for Dr. Susan Clark in the astrophysics department, and I did a fellowship. Um, so it was a program for like formerly incarcerated people to get into like astrophysics, like get into like research in general. So there were also people at the Princeton campus in New Jersey. And so we would like do research and we would kind of like talk about it. And it was great because we had a lot of support and I got to ask questions that I would maybe be embarrassed to ask otherwise. Like this was my first like internship. And so I got to ask like, hey, like what should I wear on my first day? Like, am I supposed to show up wearing like slacks and like a jacket? Like, I don't know. And they're like, oh no, like you can wear like what you would wear to class and stuff. But I would have been embarrassed to show up in a t-shirt and I couldn't wear a t-shirt. I would have been embarrassed to show up in like a suit and I'm not supposed to, So like it was a really like amazing program. And then like through the program, they offered like free therapy for like the duration of the program. So each week I get to like talk to like a therapist and say like, this is how things are going. Like, this is what I want to work on. Like, this is what I'm struggling with. So that was super cool. And then my project was super cool. It ended up, they submitted the paper for publication. I was like just listed as like a contributor on it, but it was for like evaluating. So in like space from the Big Bang, there's all this like residual emissions from that event. And it's called the cosmic microwave background. And like you can like look at them to like look at these waves to learn things about the early universe. And so they were going through and on the second iteration or like third iteration, PISM-3, they had made some improvements to reduce like the extragalactic contamination. So like emissions that come from like outside of our galaxy, because we were like the software like models the Milky Way galaxy as like an isolated system. So they wanted to like filter out light that came from outside. And so I just did like some analysis on like how effectively it did that. But it was a super cool project. I really liked it. And my mentor did a really great job of finding a project that was like doable and like I could learn a lot and I could have things to like talk about, but also like actually contributed to the overall paper. So it was really great.
So you've been listed on a paper now.
Yes.
Nice.
Author. Not kidding.
Snap,
Yeah.
girlfriend. Yeah, that's awesome. That is like really, really cool. I mean, there's people that go their entire lives and don't get that. So
Yeah.
it's that's terrific. So that was it. So that was your first internship, the very first one?
Yeah, I really didn't know that people did internship. Like I had obviously heard of it because like I was at like I participated in MESA at DVC. And so I had heard of it, but I didn't know what it was like before I got here. Over summers, I would take classes at DVC. I would volunteer a little bit at the food bank and I would cut hair and just try to like stack up as much money as I could. Cause I was super afraid that like I ended up getting really lucky with scholarships, but I was super afraid that I would get into Berkeley and then not be able to afford to go. So I was always trying to like work and like save up money so that I could like pay for my education. But like when I got to Stanford and like a lot of my peers, like over summer, they would like do internships or they would do like projects and stuff like that. Like they would do hackathons and like none of that was even really on my radar. So yeah, this was my first internship and I really, really liked it. It was a great experience.
Wow, that's an amazing first internship. I mean, usually people, it's like, they're working at General Motors or something like that, but it's like you got to work on a paper, an astrophysics paper. That's pretty awesome. So,
Yeah.
so you get back, you're doing computer, oh wait, I lost track of where I'm at. Oh, so you did your computer science section leader.
Yeah.
And then you also served, your other one was SWE intern. And we'll get to Reddit, which I think is awesome. I do want to hear about that, but we'll talk some more about that. But talk about those two things a little bit: the section leader and then the SWE intern.
Yeah. So section leading was really a great program. Like I love it. So at Stanford, they have 2 intro CS classes, which are 106A and 106B. And 90% of the undergraduate population will take 106A at Stanford. So almost everyone at Stanford takes the intro CS class at some point in their undergrad career. And so a section leader, because these classes are huge, these classes, like between both classes, we have like 800 to 1,000 students every quarter, which is a lot. And so usually how it works at colleges is that like you'll have like a handful of CAs for a course and they'll do like the grading and they'll like host sections and stuff like that. But at Stanford, the way it works is that you'll be in a section of usually like 8 to 10 students and you'll have a section leader and your section leader will host section each week for you. They'll grade all your assignments, they'll grade all your exams, and they'll have like a tutoring shift like every week for like a couple hours. And so each quarter we have like 80 to like 115 section leaders. And so it's a really cool program. It gives undergraduates an opportunity to work as TAs before they're actually like grad students or something. And you get to teach and you get to meet people, and like it's a lot of fun. And like they do something called like interactive grading sessions each week. So like every time you turn in an assignment, your section leader will grade it, and then they'll meet with you for 10 to 15 minutes and they'll walk over every line of your assignment. And they'll be like, this was great. Like, but another way you could have done it is this, which has like a little better like runtime or something like that. But you get super high resolution feedback on every assignment you turn in. Like you can go over your midterm with your section leader if you want. So I think this program is really one of the reasons that like Stanford is so good at CS, because it's like, can you imagine if like from your very first math class, you had your TA walking through your entire homework assignment? Like, sure, they grade it and they say, this is right, this is wrong. But like, if they were to sit and show you, like, you could have approached this problem this way and you would have gotten the right answer. Like, I just think it's a really great program. So I did section leading for a few quarters. Now I'm a coordinator for the section leading program. So that's my grad job. So as a coordinator, I get to, a lot of it is just like the logistics. Like we book rooms for 110 sections to happen each quarter. Like every week, like we make like the tutoring schedules. Like people Slack us when things go wrong, like when they're locked out of their section room or like when their students are sick or something like that. So it's like a lot of coordinating, but then I also get to hire section leaders. So like we do interviews, like we watch their like teaching interviews, and we do like debugging interviews. And I've also just learned a lot through that, because I feel like once you're like evaluating someone else on something, like it makes you really be able to like internalize it and like apply it to yourself. So that's been great. Section leading program was definitely like transformative. I really got to build relationships with a lot of the CS professors at Stanford, which I think also was super like transformative.
Mhm.
But yeah, love section leading. And then do you want me to talk about my other internship also?
Yes, I do.
Okay, my other internship was so cool. It was at this company called Recidiviz, and it's a company that uses tech to address like mass incarceration and just kind of like the justice system, like the carceral system in general. It was started by some people at Google, like as a side project. They started using like data analysis to look at different statistics around like prisons and stuff. And I think the story is that like when they first did like their first iteration of like evaluating stuff, they thought that the algorithm was broken, because they're like, oh, it looks like there's people still in prison that shouldn't be, like, but it turns out that like they were correct. Like there were people in prison who like shouldn't be, because like I think especially like with like data entry and stuff like that, it's like if someone's release date is like January 7th, like 2025 or something like that, and it's entered just as like 172025, like instead of 0107225. They're like, oh, this is missing the month or something like that. Or if it was like January 2nd and it's like 1/2/2025, it's like, oh, this is December, but it's missing the day. And then like they have like a bad release date, and like maybe they don't end up getting released or something. Like just kind of the thing we said about how like if it defaults, like it usually defaults like for harm, like. So
Mhm.
looking at stuff like that, I got to make a dashboard for the main state prison system. And it just like automates things that case managers usually have to do by hand. So like, for example, I was sent to CIW when I was in prison to participate in fire camp. And there's a number of like criteria you need to meet. And one of the criteria is you need to have medical clearance. And so I was sent to this prison 7 hours away. And when I got there, they were like, oh, you can't do fire camp. You have asthma. Like, why would they send you down here? And I'm like, you tell me, why would they send me down here when I can't do fire camp? So this just kind of uses like structured query language to like make sure all these like conditions are met. Like, do they not have any local warrants? Do they not have any federal warrants? Like, are they eligible? Like, has it been this long since their last like violation? Have they completed all these like programming and training and stuff like that? So super cool application, like something I like really liked working on. Also just kind of like what we were talking about before, because it's like when the case manager signs in and sees their dashboard, like how are we going to surface like the people that they see at the top? Like they shouldn't be seeing the same names at the top, like each time. Like it should be like varied so that like a new person has an opportunity to be like next if they're eligible for these programs. So that was super cool. I really liked my manager. I really liked the office. I worked in Oakland. And just a really awesome company that I like really, really believe in and love.
So it's just I find that amazing because it's like I think the stuff you're doing at Stanford is great, and I take a look at what you were just talking about, and I'm in my head I'm thinking about what kind of impact do you think that has had? Because again, you came into it through the lens of not allowing a default because like you were saying is that usually it's if there's a default is usually for bad. It usually has a negative impact on people, and so you've had an opportunity to get rid of the defaults. How do you think that's impacted? I mean, if you were to guess, do you think it's had a good impact? I mean, that's been going on for a couple of years now, right? So, well, actually more than that, now that I look back at it. Well, a couple of years, let's imagine. So,
Yeah.
what do you think the impact has been on that, as far as you could tell?
I mean, I think that the impact is definitely good. Like because it's like when you have just like one case manager, it's like if you think about the process of like you have to find the name, you have to look it up in like the federal like warrants database. Like you have to find the name, you have to look it up in like the local database, like a query can happen in like a fraction of a second. So I think that just being able and like you can do your whole caseload faster than you could even think about doing think about starting one person, and it would also like once it was done, like it would like auto populate the form. So like all you have to do is like type up like a short little like note and like you can like submit it like right away. But I think that the impact is I haven't really talked to them. Like I hope that the impact is like really good and like being like super successful. Um I think that this is gonna take, like, a little bit of, like, a dark turn, but when I was in fire camp, like, I shared my story about how I was sent there and then I was found to not be eligible. There was another woman who had kids, and she was sent to fire camp, and she had done, like, a lot of the training, and then they told her that she actually wasn't eligible, and the thing is, like, if when you do fire camp, if you're doing 50% of your sentence and then you do fire camp, you only have to do 33% of your sentence. If you're doing 80% of your sentence and you get fire camp, you only have to do 50% of your sentence. So she was at 80 and she got into fire camp. So she thought she was doing 50. She had told like her family and her kids, like, oh, I'm coming home like a couple years early, like I'm doing fire camp. And then they told her she wasn't eligible and she ended up committing suicide like in prison, like
Oh my
while
gosh.
I was there. And so like when I just think about that, like it's like, okay, like I was able to handle the false, like, positive on, like, my end, like, saying, "You can do this." "Oh, no, you can't." Um, but I think even, like, impacts like that, like, things need to be right? And, like, if you can have, like, a computer that is, like, right, you know what I mean? Like, that isn't gonna, like, accidentally, like, mistype a name in the system and be like, "Oh, this person doesn't have warrants." "Oh, yes, they do." Um, I think that's important. Yeah.
Well,
And
I was going to say, and you're dealing with people that are. I mean, yes, they're there for valid reasons. At the same time, they're in a very emotionally vulnerable state, and it's like the
Mhm.
more things, and so it does not, it, it's. I think one of the best things is just is allowing consistency. Like you were
Yeah.
saying, it's just this poor woman. She thought based on everything that she was being told, and then that rug got yanked out from underneath her, and she couldn't
Yeah.
deal with it. And I get it. It's tough. So, well, okay, that was dark, but I mean, at the same time, I think
Yeah.
it shows why the point you were making about basically knowing all the parts that have to occur and being able to pull all that data together for a complete dashboard, I think makes a huge difference. Um, an amazing thing. So then you got to that was summer before last, and then last
Mhm.
summer you got to run off to New York to go hang out with Reddit, which
Yes.
is such a weird and wonderful place to be. I mean, Reddit is
Yes.
awesome. So talk about that. That sounds like it was like a blast. I mean, in some ways.
Yeah. It was super fun and it was super crazy how it happened. So I have a friend, Patricia Way, and I met her at Stanford. She's super into social reform, like justice reform. And she goes into juvenile halls like Contra Costa, San Francisco, she'll go into like Contra Costa juvenile halls and do this thing called like coding gang, where like she teaches people incarcerated there at like residents at the juvenile halls how to code. She adapts like the intro curriculum at Stanford and teaches them how to code. So really cool program. And she was having tech days for people at different juvenile halls. So we went to like Alameda and San Francisco, and I think like online to like Contra Costa, because like they ended up not being able to have us come in person that day. But there would be tech days, and so she would have people from different companies, like this guy who was like formerly incarcerated, but he like worked at Google and was able to like retire super young. And like he was telling the kids like, oh yeah, like I retired because like last year, like I made just under $1 million. And like when I was in my early 20s, like I was in prison for like robbery, and like I went back to school, I got my PhD, like, and I like worked at Microsoft and like Google and stuff. And like she wanted me to talk about like my experience about like, yeah, like I was incarcerated and then like I like got into Stanford and now I'm like doing CS. And so one of the people at the event was Waverly, who's the recruiter from Reddit. And she was talking about how like at Reddit, like they're like your background won't keep you from like getting a job offer if you have like the talent, like, you know. But her name was like really like distinctive. So like I remembered it, you know, and she was really nice. Like I talked to her. And so it was maybe like a year later, I just like cold applied to Reddit, and she ended up being matched and like being my recruiter. And I was like, hey, like I remember you. I met you like at this event, like in like juvenile hall and stuff like that. And it was just like a really like cool moment. And the guy who also went that day was like my mentor, and like I had just like had a meeting with him that morning, like before I had like the phone call with like Waverly. And so I was like, oh, like I talked to Mac, like he says hi also, like, you know. But it was just like such like a funny moment that like a year later, like on this day, like I have like the same people who like we were all like in juvenile hall together like that day, like talking to like the residents there. So yeah, I like went through the application process and like ended up getting an offer. And then I was in New York, which was really crazy. I had never been anywhere really. Like I had like gone on some like vacations as a kid. Like my family would go to like Disney World, and like we'd visit like my family in New Jersey. But like before coming to Stanford, I'd never really been anywhere, like lived anywhere. And so I got to like go and like live in New York and like have this like nice like fancy job and stuff like that. And like was it after that? It was like before that, like the fall before that, like I had been like studying abroad, like in Hong Kong. So like I lived in Asia for 3 months, like through my school. Like, yeah, just a lot of really cool opportunities.
Wow, that's amazing. And New York City is an amazing place, and it's kind of like one of those things that I think everybody should go there and live there. I mean, I've stayed there for about 3 weeks on a business trip one time, but that was about it. It wasn't like I actually had to live there. But so now you are your coordinator. Come up to current. Oh, we're up to current times. You're sitting there killing it in your master's program. And so what do you imagine for a moment? What do you see it's your like as you move down the road? What is some of the dreams and aspirations that you may have, or is it a little too early for that?
I don't think it's too early. I'm trying not to get like too far ahead of myself, because I think like even when Berkeley was my goal, like it was like a super like good goal and a hard goal to like motivate me. But I do think I got like a little bit like locked into that goal to the point where like I wasn't super considering like other great opportunities that I had. And like it took like someone I really trusted being like, no, like you're making a mistake, like do this, like, you know? So I'm kind of just trying to do like the like next right thing, like the next cool thing like in front of me, and like try to work towards it. I'm going back to Reddit. I'm moving back to New York over summer, and I'm going to be working there at Reddit full time. But the reason I really wanted to get my master's is because I really do like love teaching, which I think is like a little bit evident by like the section leading thing and then like staying involved with like 198 as like a coordinator, CS plus social good, like education outreach. I'm super interested in education and I'd really love to teach at DVC one day, like as a CS teacher. Yeah. I think it would be a lot of fun, especially because like I still really like Professor Mohan and like I think it'd be fun for us to do little like math and CS like events and stuff like that, like little joint like project. And like he was talking to me about how like he would this might be like super like inaccurately like represented, but like saying how he wanted to get his students like introduced to like research and stuff like that and like showing them like, hey, like this is how like you have an idea and like this is how you pursue it, like this is how you write about it like academically. And I think that's so cool. I think that's absolutely something that should be happening like at the like community college level, because I think one of the worst things about academia is that like when the bar is so high, like when the people at Stanford are brilliant, right? But like so many of the people at Stanford, like to get into Stanford, like you can't just be brilliant. You also have to be like good at taking SATs, like good at traditional standardized testing, like good at like writing and stuff like that. So it's like how many people are like brilliant and have great ideas, but maybe like they're not inclined for like that super strict like academia path and stuff. So like I love that he's doing that kind of stuff at DVC, and like I would love to also do something like that. And then maybe like teaching in like prisons or jails.
Well, I think that's a wonderful, because it creates an opportunity for people that don't normally have a lot of opportunities. You've been very fortunate, but
Yeah.
I like the idea of teaching, is showing the path through community college of like not only like yes you can make it to Stanford, which you're a shining example of that, but also here's how you approach academia, here's how you do research, here's how you do other things. Because I think you're right. I think a lot of people they don't understand the rigor and the discipline, and it's not something that comes naturally. It's just you got to learn how and you got to understand how to do it. And I know a ton of people that have bright ideas, but they just don't know how to pursue them, and so you
Mhm.
end up with this kind of closet full of really bright ideas, but no way to drag them out in the light and make them into something. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So it sounds like you have some goals that you're not willing to lock in yet, but which
Mhm.
I get that. It's like, life again is not very linear. We would love to have you back here at DVC, and if you decide to do a hackathon or something like that with the DVC folks, let us know here in the foundation, and we will be happy to play along on that. That's for sure.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's really cool. Like, I'd love to, because at Stanford has been like such a cool experience, but like a lot of it, I think, is just the mentality. Like, I remember being at DVC and telling people, like, oh, I applied to Stanford, like, I applied to like MIT, and people kind of like laughing a little bit. And I think at Stanford, like, there is still a little bit of that of like, oh, people wanna, like, keep things, like, a little close to their chest, but there's also definitely the idea that, like, it's so much better to try and fail than to never fail at all. Like, someone who had a failed startup is, like, so much more valuable than someone who's, like, only ever done, like, internships, even if those internships are, like, Apple, like, Meta, like, these great internships, like, there's so much value in like trying and failing, and like there's so many resources like once like you like start to fail, like, so yeah, I'd love to
I
bring stuff like that to DVC.
Yeah, I think actually that mentality of it's better to have tried and failed, I think is a great thing. What is it? I heard there's or there used to be, this is before several crashes ago, but there's a library in Silicon Valley that contains just about every failed startup's business plan. And the reason
Mm,
is so you can go in and learn about things that affect, because it's not necessarily, I mean, some of them are probably just, bad ideas, but some of it might just be bad execution or just timing was awful, or
yeah, definitely, yeah.
because there's a certain amount of luck that is involved in any of it. It's there's just but you have to be prepared to take advantage of the luck. So
Yeah. And I think that I had that mentality a little bit before I even came to Stanford too, because I remember talking to people at DVC and I was very much of the opinion like, if I'm not getting rejected from schools, I'm not applying to enough schools, because there's people who are like, I got into every school I applied to. And I'm like, oh, bummer. Don't you wish you applied to more schools? Like maybe you too could have gotten into MIT, or like maybe you could have gotten into like an Ivy. Like you should have applied to more schools. Like not failing means like you're not being aggressive. You're not being bold enough, like you're leaving things on the table.
I'm going to take that quote and I'm going to post it all over the place because I like that. I like that. If you're not being rejected, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to leave us with? I mean, I know you're a busy person and you got lots of stuff to do today. You've probably got an armful of stuff that you got to get done, but I want to be respectful of your time. Anything you want to leave us with? Because that last quote is like, that's golden, by the way, and that's going to go all over LinkedIn. So
that's so funny. I don't know. I feel like it's hard to like have like words of wisdom. I don't think I have any words of wisdom. I'm definitely just so grateful for DVC. And it's really crazy because I remember being at DVC and not wanting to leave at all. Like I remember going and talking to my counselor and being like, hey, like, I just wanted to talk to you. Like, what's the process for being like an accredited like university? Like, I think DVC really has like the numbers, like, look how many students we have. Like, there's no reason we shouldn't be a 4-year university. Like, I did not want to leave DVC. Like, I loved it so much. Like, I was so like comfortable. And I'm glad that like people were pushing me anyways. If I could have had the opportunity to stay at DVC, I don't even know if I would have wanted to leave just because I liked it so much. But yeah.
So you wouldn't have been rejected somewhere else, and you wouldn't be where you're at now, sitting at Stanford and working on maybe coming back someday and teaching here at DVC. Yeah. Had it not been for the fact that basically you got thrown out the door to go succeed somewhere else.
Yes. And like that's really like DVC taught me to have dreams that like I didn't know to have, Like I feel like it's hard when like, you can't have a dream that, like, you don't know about, And, like, that's some things that, like, they talk about, like, Stanford. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, like, if you ask someone, like, 15 years ago, like, what's their dream job? Like, if the answer was podcaster, like, they couldn't have known that the answer was like, it didn't exist, like, So I think there's so much to be said about, like, you can't have a dream that you don't know exists. Like, so that's why I try to just, like, stay open a little bit. Like, definitely do the things that interest me. But, like, I'm trying now not to, like, lock in so hard on like exactly what I think like my future should look like. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about DVC. I think that everyone should do community college. I really like that I had the place to like explore, because the first quarter that I took computer science, I also took a business class because my brother did business at UC Berkeley, and like him telling me, he's like, I will help you. Like, I will help you pick your classes. I will help you study for exams. Like, I will help you every step of the way. And that's what gave me the confidence to like go back to DVC. And so I was like trying to decide between like CS and business. And like, I just love that DVC gave me that space to decide. Like, I can't imagine like being somewhere like at Stanford, like you still can explore, but like at Stanford, a 5-unit class is like literally $7,000. Like, it's like, I'm so glad that like I got to explore for like $13 or whatever it was that like units were costing. So I just think the world of DVC, like I always like encourage people, like when people say, oh, like my kid doesn't know like what school they want to do, like what they want to study, I'm always like, well, they should consider DVC.
Wow. Well, I think with that, we will end off there. And I want to thank you for your time. It's been absolutely marvelous. And this will get posted up in a few weeks. I'll give you a ping ahead of time, let you know that it's out there, and you'll get a chance to kind of peruse it and see what you think. And yes, and again, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you on Scholarship Day here at DVC.
Yes.
And we so appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next, the podcast for the DVC Alumni Association. You can contact us at alumni@dvc.edu with any comments, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe to our podcast.